So it's me, Bromer. I'm back again here on Monday in Vancouver for FAN EXPO Vancouver for my program, Mahaz Academia, with CFAC 88.3. And I have the immense pleasure of sitting here with Alessandro Juliani. Thank you for accepting this interview.
Mon plaisir. How are you?
I'm doing well. Let's start with that, actually. You have a very strong connection to the city of Montreal.
I do. My father, my mother were both born there. I went to school there. I went to l'Université de McGill, where I studied music. I have such a huge affection for Montreal. Even growing up, I was an Expos fan back when they existed. So yeah, it's near and dear to me.
Bittersweet.
And I miss it.
Now, where do you live?
I live in Vancouver.
So you moved over to Vancouver. Was it for work-related reasons?
I was born in Vancouver. Lived here, lived in Edmonton for a while, back to Vancouver, then to Montreal for 5 or 6 years over university time, and then New York for a while, and then back. I moved back to Vancouver about, 25 years ago. I decided that's where I wanted to settle down and have ever since.
In terms of your career, you're a very peculiar actor because you've had major roles both in live action series and as well as dubbing.
Yep.
So tell us, how did that come to be?
If I knew, I would be able to lay out a roadmap for my future. So much of this industry is luck and timing. Of course, you have to have talent, but you have to just have perseverance as well. I started out as a teenager just acting in plays at school. It was the family business a little bit. My father was an actor and a director, but he worked at CBC, at Radio Canada.
Oh.
In radio drama. So I grew up around a studio. I wasn't on the mic necessarily, but I was doing my homework in the booth while he was recording actors and editing, putting together these radio dramas, which, these days are podcasts, but back then they were quite prevalent. And so I must have picked up some things by osmosis. I auditioned for a Saturday morning cartoon when I was 13. My voice was breaking with puberty, so it sounded a bit like this. And it was just happened to be the perfect voice for this little character in a show called Captain Nintendo, Captain N, the Game Master.
Right, you were on.
I was the voice of Kid Icarus.
Yes.
No problemicus, Jebedesius Heinicus.
Yeah.
Captain N is such a legendary franchise. I remember when I was younger, we had it played in school for like a class. The teacher would play it. No, it wasn't. It was Felix Gaeta. It was after school.
Yeah.
So the after school we would have Captain N would be one of the shows.
Hilarious.
That we played.
Yeah.
And I remember
very retro for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, it is retro.
Yeah.
But I think it's because our teachers would watch that, so they had that on cassette.
Okay.
So that's what we would watch
There
when
you
I was
go.
younger.
There you go.
Yeah. No, it's true. Oftentimes, I talk to actors and voice actors, and sometimes it just comes like, oh yeah, he was on that show. It's true. I completely forgot.
Anyway, to answer your question more, so from there, you're just trying to eke out a living and make a career. You try to say yes to as many things as you can and audition for as many things as you can. And I've just been fortunate to be a part of a few franchises, both as a voice and as a full body, that seem to have resonated and lasted.
One of I would say probably the biggest role in terms of live action, Gaeta in Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah.
How did you get that role, and what was your experience playing on that show?
How did I get that role? An audition like any other, albeit one that I felt pretty excited about, even though I was at that time playing Romeo in Romeo and Juliet here in Vancouver at the Playhouse, big theater, which felt like a big deal. I do remember having to drive during my dress rehearsal for Romeo and Juliet to do a callback for Battlestar and sort of cursing the fact that I had to drive across town to get the part. But that's how it happened. I luckily got the part, and it turned out to be an incredible experience.
What was it like to be on the set of Battlestar Galactica?
Yeah, it was wild. It was childhood wish fulfillment in a big way. I had the action figures from the original series. Now I was an action figure. Very surreal. Acting with people like James Olmos and Mary McDonnell was also surreal at first, and then became natural, and we became a family, and are to this day. That's a special bond that we had on that show.
I saw you did a panel here
Yes, with Katie.
With Katie, yeah, about Battlestar Galactica. How do you feel about the fact that even to this day, after so long, the show was such a cult hit that people still ask you about it and they're like, "Oh yeah, you work on that show."
That's what it's all about, man. That's why we do this. Again, like people, I've been blessed to be a part of multiple stories that people watch time and again, and that's something that as an actor, I myself am not a writer. I'm not someone who creates shows. You're somewhat powerless to know what's going to hit and what's not, and I've just been lucky to be a part of it. Yeah.
Another big show that you were part of the 100. That one, it's a very different show from Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, for sure.
So how was it to be casted in the 100? How did you find out, and when did you what did you think about playing in that show?
That's a perfect example. Work begets work. So
Right.
Jason Rothenberg, the showrunner of the 100, was a huge Battlestar Galactica fan, and he brought me into the 100 to play sort of at first a similar role, but then very much evolved into kind of this relationship with Raven and mentorship with Raven, the character played by Lindsay. It was great. It's like a whole new ensemble of actors. I felt for the first time like an old man. I was one of the old fogies, the geezas on the show. So that was an interesting role to be. I'm not ever going to say a mentor yet at that point, but I certainly had experience, and the kids were all right on that show.
It must be strange sometimes to watch some of your old shows where you still had black hair.
Yeah, I'm a silver fox now, baby. Yeah,
There is
changed.
wisdom. There is wisdom in that.
Yeah,
I always try to say that so that people don't feel bad.
yeah. I don't feel bad at all. I'd rather have silver hair than no hair at all.
Now, then it's a completely different show. Then again, Smallville.
Oh, that's going back in time then.
Yeah. We're going back. Yeah.
Sure. What's to say? I was a DC comic collector when I was a teenager, and then here I was thrust into that universe. So that was super cool. A show that had been on a long time at that point. I came in season 8, so really well established, and they really knew they were in a groove. And so that's a different thing. You come in and you have to fit in right away, or you won't last. I tried to do the best I could, and we had a ton of fun.
And out of all the sort of live action shows you played, I always thought that, and that's my opinion, the sort of black sheep of the group was your role in Sabrina.
Oh yeah.
It seems a bit out of place out of all the types of roles you played. So how did you get into that role in Sabrina?
That was just an audition like any other, and after I booked it, it was I wasn't super familiar with the original show sitcom, but this was very clearly something completely different. Roberto, the showrunner on that, was looking for a really campy and fun but dark tone, and it became clear that my character was going to be kind of a sort of lighthouse of sincerity and earnestness in all of it, and then his romance with Hilda was obviously lovely, very sweet center of the show.
Now we can come to sort of the meat that I want to get into. Elle.
Yes.
So this is the character that you were here as with the rest of the crew and the cast of the main crew of Death Note.
The Death Note reunion.
I have to, again, like I said, I told Brian Drummond earlier. He played Knuckles in Sonic, and my sister's a huge Sonic fan. And I have to make another selfish admission. The first anime that I showed to my mom, and when she didn't just go, "Oh, is this like Pokemon again?" was Death Note. She watched the entire show.
Yeah.
And she was devastated when Elle died.
Yep.
And
she's in good company.
And Elle is her favorite character. So
say hi to your mom for me.
And I was gonna say that. Well, you're saying hi to her right now.
Hi, Mom.
Elle, that character in Death Note, the role that he played, it was such an important role as sort of the foil to Light.
Yep.
and I can imagine that like you and Brad in that show, you had sort of this like dynamic going, and Death Note is one of the few shows, and I'm not brown nosing, I swear, that I prefer watching the dub.
Yeah.
A lot of time people prefer watching the sub version. They say, oh yeah, you know, the Japanese voice actors are better than the English voice actors. The English voice actors
Yeah.
are cringe. But in Death Note, I think it's quite a good consensus in terms of as far as the English fandom goes, that people prefer the dub, and it's one of the few shows that has that consensus. So the character of L, how do you feel about that character?
I feel a great affection for him. I think that he is totally unique in the whole like pantheon of characters. I've never encountered anyone like him again. I never had before. So to have my voice associated with him is super cool. And yeah, what you were alluding to about the relationship with Light, and also the thing about dubbing. Like I'm also a sub guy. I would prefer to maybe hear things in the original language most of the time. But in this instance, the dub actors were all excellent, and more importantly, the director did a fantastic job, Carl Willems, of harnessing us all, getting us all in line, because all of this chemistry that you're talking about with me and Brad was all done without ever hearing each other. Like that's the incredible thing about it. We did it in silos, just reading our lines, and Carl would shape and direct us to be a little bit more like this, a little more like that. So it feels sort of monumental that the show has, as you said, proven to be an iconic dub. It feels very special.
How was it for you to get into character for L? Because I think he's even more than the other characters you played in live action TV shows. He is very different. He's a very neurotic character. He always feels like he has 1,000 things going on in his head.
Yes.
And he has a very sort of peculiar mannerisms. How was it for you to get into character for him?
Once we found it, it was easy to get it back. But it was an exploration to find just how deadpan, how monotone could we go? How bored could he sound by most of life? But yet, as you said, at least allude to the fact that there are thousands of thoughts going through his mind all the time, this sort of churning intellect. We would call him neurodivergent now, for sure. Back then, you know, he was quirky and eccentric, I think was how he was described in the character breakdown for the audition. I've had a lot of neurodivergent people come to meet me at conventions who say they saw themselves reflected in the character, which is deeply meaningful. Like, you know, they don't often get to see themselves on screen, so to have any way done justice to that feels great.
When did you find out that L was going to die, and how does an actor find out? Like, I feel like it must be like you're reading the script, it's like, and he dies.
Yeah, you'd be surprised. You very rarely get any notice. I think I found out when I got the script the day before. And,
for that episode.
Yeah, and I hoped secretly that maybe it was just all part of his master plan that he was coming back. No spoilers. But that was not to be the case. No, I mean, as an on-camera actor, you often find out in strange ways that your character is coming to an end. It's often in the hair and makeup trailer, because they always get the scripts in advance. You'll find on a show that's been running for a long time where there's a high body count, like The 100, that the actors will rush to the makeup trailer to look through the scripts to see if they're still alive. It's kind of this funny phenomenon, and hopefully you are.
To what do you attribute like the fact that you've had such a long career in acting and voice acting, and like both specifically, because a lot of voice actors, they have long careers, like, you know, Chris Sabat, Brian, they have long careers. A lot of, like, you know, sort of physical, like, live action actors, they've had long careers, but you've done both, and you've had as long as of a career.
I don't know. I think part of it is actually being able to go back and forth. it keeps you ever from. I'm also a composer, so I write
Right.
music and I score for theater and dance and film.
Yeah, I started playing the guitar earlier.
Yeah, I play instruments. You have to kind of keep yourself engaged, I think. So I've been lucky to have different aspects of creativity that I can tap into. Let's say I'm not on a TV show. I can do a little bit more voice work and a little more music. Keeping all those balls in the air, I think for young people who are hoping to get into the business, being as diversifying your abilities and tools is so essential, because you kind of only do one thing or one thing well. If that dries up for a while, as it inevitably does in the ebbs and flows of this career, that's when that way madness can lie. You kind of have to branch out if you can.
A lot of pure voice actors have, always mention the fact that voice health is essential to their career. But you, as someone who's done much more live action work,
Yeah.
is there a physical toll that's taken on your body that after like a certain point, you come and you're like, I can't do this anymore. I'm too old for this.
I'm not too old for this. Hopefully, you're never too old for this.
Yeah.
It's physically demanding. It's not working in a mine or something, or on an oil patch, but there's some demands to it. You have to keep yourself in shape. You learn that as you get older, that your body doesn't bounce back as fast. You can't party so hard, and to take care of yourself, to feed yourself good food and rest when you can.
I mean, some of the characters you play, like canonically, like they're supposed to be fit, like Gaeta in Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, sure.
What is the sort of regimen conditioning that you go through to get into shape like that?
Yeah, I mean, back in those days, it was a lot easier. I run and I play tennis. That's what I do. I try to eat smart. I do not succeed all the time, especially when I'm in Montreal. It's hard. People have different things that work for them. I'm not big on like dieting or depriving myself of things that I love so much to eat. So I just try to find balance, and with the physical stuff, just try to stay active and keep my steps in. So,
like, what does it take to become an actor like you were in Battlestar Galactica and other TV shows? Because as I mentioned, TV shows because it's different from movies.
Sure. Well, it's not that different in some ways. It just takes resilience. You have to be able to get knocked down and get back up off the mat, sometimes daily, sometimes multiple times a week, because you're auditioning for many, many things, and most of those things you don't get. So it takes resilience. It takes some self-belief that, what you have to offer is different from anyone else. And it takes joy, because you have to enjoy the process of creating and the process of even auditioning or learning lines. Some of the more mundane things that you have to do, you have to find joy in it. And if you don't, then you probably end up somewhere on a different path.
A few months ago, I was actually in Vancouver, and we went to visit the UBC campus, and they were shooting Percy Jackson.
Yeah.
Over there.
Sure.
So we had a chance to catch some of that shooting, the set, and with all the sort of extras walking around.
Fun.
And they reshot that one shot so many times. Like, we left and they were still reshooting that shot.
Yeah.
And when I think about it, like, for what we see, the final product for a 45-ish minute episode for a live action TV show, that is the final product out of hours and hours and hours of footage.
Yeah, 10 days often.
What is the rhythm like? Like, what's the day-to-day like?
Yeah, it's hurry up and wait. You have to be a bit like a sprinter. You're waiting for hours and hours and hours, and then when it comes time to act, you have to deliver in a very limited amount of time, and you only get so many cracks at it. So yeah, it's high pressure, in some ways high stakes, I guess. Very, very different from live performance, which I've done a lot of too, and certainly different from voice acting too, although there's a little bit of pressure there to, obviously deliver the line. You get lots of takes when you're doing voice stuff, you know, because you're riffing most of the time. But on set, yeah, they're long, long days, and you'd be surprised how little acting you do in a day.
You mentioned the makeup trailers earlier.
The hub, that's where all the action
the
is.
hubs, yeah. People always wonder like what's going on behind the scenes for these actors because like you know we see them playing, but what is it like being on set and like spending all that time working and then you go back for another makeup? And
Yeah. Oh, hopefully you like the people that you're around. You know, that's film sets, TV sets. They become families for that reason because you're spending all this time together, you're getting to know each other. I've been lucky to be on several shows where just great people, great crews, great casts and leaders. Yeah, you know, it can be exhausting. You know, the sort of just the low level kind of grace that it takes all the time to talk to people, yourself included.
Thank you.
But it is it's a pleasure and it's a privilege.
You know, there's always these like salacious rumors and things like that about like drama, like oh this actor actually doesn't like that actor. There's like drama behind the scenes. Yeah, now with social media, YouTube, it's like ubiquitous. But there's always been this like mystery behind this this character was killed off on this show because like the actor like I don't know something like really ridiculous like slept with the director's daughter like something stupid like that. How much is it true that when a character is killed off in the show, it's not like something that was planned by the writers? It's like oh yeah, this actor got fired.
Oh, I'd say it's pretty rare that it's a personal issue. I'd say more often than not, way more often than not, it is just something storytelling, a character like L in Death Note. They decided to kill him not because the Japanese actor wasn't doing a good job in the original show, just because they thought it would have impact. But what I will say is that often writers don't know where a story is going until they cast the show, they see the actors, and if they're good writers, they will shape it around what they're seeing in the show. So sometimes a character's arc and path is not predetermined, and it sometimes can change 360 degrees. A character that they thought they were going to kill off can live and live till the end, and vice versa.
Actors have a pretty strong union, the SAG-AFTRA, I believe.
Yeah, UBCP ACTRA here.
Yeah, UBCP ACTRA here. And the thing about the union I want to ask is a couple of years ago during FAN EXPO Canada in 2021, right after COVID, James Marsters was there as well.
Yes.
And Chris Sabat was there. And they it was funny because James Marster like sort of trolled Chris Sabat by crashing his Q&A. And he asked him like sort of joked about the fact that he played Piccolo in the live action Dragon Ball that was a disaster, like that movie.
Yes.
And that to make it up, he asked Chris Sabat and Sean Shamel whether he could do a character in Dragon Ball Super. And he ended up doing one under a pseudonym, but the reason why he had to do it under a pseudonym was because Dragon Ball was a non-union show.
Yes.
Do these type of issues rise up when it comes to the acting world?
I mean, maybe down south in the States. I'm not a member of that union. I don't work in the States. As a Canadian actor, I've always been a proud member of ACTRA and UBCP and Canadian Actors Equity, which is the theater association.
Right.
So yeah, you just don't do work that isn't union. And we've been, I guess it's a different landscape down there in that the anime dubbing that is done for the most part in the States is done non-union, which is why people like Sabat and Schimmel perhaps are not in the union. I'm not even sure. I shouldn't speculate. But there's a difference between the two countries and our makeup. It's something that is important for us to have each other's backs, even across the border, and to help advocate for our rights as workers, just like in any industry. So
recently, there's been the writer's strike and other.
It's a perfect example.
Other labor actions. What's your take on because it is on one hand it is an issue, but at the same time it is sort of emblematic of the changing landscape in the world of like cinema and TV in general.
Sure.
So what are your general feelings about the direction that everything is going at the moment in the industry?
Well, everyone's talking about AI and how's it going to affect the industry. No one can know for sure. I think we need protections in place for sure. That but but what they exactly are is going to be a moving target. I think that AI can be a tool like anything has been in the past when there's been technological advances. We just have to make sure that we're the ones making the art, and that the robots, for lack of a better word, are the ones doing the stuff, the boring stuff that we don't want to do.
Like the what's it called in French montage, like the editing for the videos, like the final.
Yeah, maybe they're good. Maybe they're good for sketching and for doing a storyboard, but they shouldn't be the ones directing the movies or acting them.
Oh no, of course
can
not.
help
I mean, there's always a human element to direction. I think we see that.
Yes, the one thing that AI can't do yet is taste. They cannot curate what is good taste and what is cool yet. So we should check it before it happens. I'm sorry, I have to.
No, I was
cut
gonna
this
end
short now.
No, I was gonna.
Yeah.
I was gonna end the interview.
Oh, okay,
actually.
well, great, good timing. We're in the same
No worries.
wavelength.
Yeah, no. I was gonna say like, thank you very much, Alessandro.
All my pleasure.
Merci beaucoup.
De rien. À la prochaine.
À la prochaine. And I'm waiting to see you in Montreal again.
Okay, let's go over to Schwartz's. Sounds good.
Oh,